Alright, family and friends. Shabar Israel checking in once again on today, 2019, the 28th of November, which is allegedly known as Thanksgiving. And also today is what many may say is my birthday. Okay, so sometimes what many may call my birthday happens to coincide with Thanksgiving. But I want to speak on Thanksgiving right quick. All right, so should we celebrate Thanksgiving? Yes or no? Before I answer that question, if you should see my mother or my father celebrating Thanksgiving of the 28th of November 2019, if you see my mom and dad celebrating Thanksgiving of today, it's not because of a bunch of pilgrims decided to take a trip to Plymouth Rock and slaughter thousands of indigenous people, the Native Americans, known as the Gadites. So, if my mom or my father should celebrate Thanksgiving, it's not because of the British in the 1620s eradicating the Native Americans. It's not because of that. So you may ask, well, what the hell your mother and father celebrate this day for then, if it's not predicated upon European colonial powers subjugating the Native Americans? Well, the reason why my mother and father may commemorate this day today, which is Thanksgiving, November 28, 2019, is simply because this is the very day that I was birthed, you see. So, if you should see my mother and my father celebrating this event, it's not because of the British slaughtering the natives. It's simply because of the birth of their son, which is me. So many people celebrate Thanksgiving on many different occasions, many different perspectives, you know. So some may say, well, Thanksgiving is what you make out of it, because a lot of our people may say, well, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving for the sake of European colonial powers subduing Native Americans. Many may say we celebrate Thanksgiving because, it's a convenient time for us to gather ourselves and come together as a family. Maybe this might be a more convenient time than it was in the summer or the spring. Maybe you may have your hands filled during the summer or spring, or or the fall. Maybe you may have your hands filled. So, you just have to look into it why various people celebrate Thanksgiving, because there's many different perspectives. But that still does not solidify that Thanksgiving should be celebrated in terms of a day of genocide. Okay? And so, yeah. And something else I wanted to say before I close out. You might hear of a person dying. In other words, you might hear he or she died. Well, if that's the case, if he or she died, then he or she could have not died if he or she could not be tried. So the only reason why you die is because you are tried, in reference to a trial, because the trial has to take place on your behalf of your crimes that was carried out in this existence. Now, this is totally a different topic that I'm talking about. So, he or she died because it came the appointed time for he or she to be tried in terms of a trial, what you would call a court case or a hearing on the behalf of what they committed in this existence. So, you may hear individuals saying, I was sent here on the earth. I was sent by God. Well, guess what? You cannot be sent here on earth unless you are sentenced. So you cannot be sent here unless you are sentenced. So the reason why many of us are sent here on earth is because we are sentenced. If you're not sentenced, you cannot be sent. Now, another thing, because in the beginning of the video, I was talking about my date of birth being November 28th. Okay, I was talking about my date of birth being November 28th, 2019, which is Thanksgiving today. Now, well, guys, you are not, how can I say this? Basically, your birth is not the day you was born. Your birth is not the day you was born. See, the time you was born was during the fertilization of the egg cell and the sperm cell that collided with one another. So, in other words, when the egg cell of the woman and the sperm cell of the male, when they decided to intermingle, that created what you would call child conception. And from that point, that would be the time that you would be born. Because to be born is for a person to bear something. So if you are bearing something, that means carrying something. To carry something is to bear something. And the past tense for bear is born. So, example, he has carried many trials and tribulations. You can say he has borne many trials and tribulations. So to carry something is to bear something, past tense, born. So this is exactly what your mother do for a period of 40 weeks. So from the time of the conception, your mother, she will bear you in her womb for 40 weeks, which is approximately 9 months. So you are born during that time that your mother will carry you during the 40-week process. That's when you are actually born, because she's carrying you. So when it comes the appointed time for your birth, do not get that confused from the time you was born, because birth is not in relations to being born. To be born is to be carried for 9 months. So after your mother finally go through the procedures and giving you birth, she can look back and say, I buried this child for 9 months, or that child was born by me for 9 months because I carried that child for 9 months. But to be birthed is not to be born. So what it is to be birthed? To be birthed is to be earthed. So you're not actually, your mother is not actually giving you birth, she's actually conveying you to the earth. You was conveyed to the earth by your mother. She conveyed you to the earth. She distributed you to the earth. So your birth date is actually your earth date. Your birth date is actually your earth date. Okay, so don't get born confused with birth and birth confused with born. I just felt led to drop that knowledge to you guys because, you know, family and friends will say, this is the time I was born. They would say, oh, November 28, 2019, which is Thanksgiving today. Family and friends will say, well, isn't it this the time you was born? No, this not the time I was born. I was born from the time my father egg cell encountered my mother's egg cell and child conception was established. And she bore me, she bare me, she carried me for approximately 40 weeks, which is ultimately 9 months. That's the time I was born. But to be birthed, you could say today is my return date. To be birthed is to be earth. It's basically the appointed time that you return to the earth. So you're not actually born if you are birthed. And if you are birthed, you're not actually born. You see? But if you are birthed, that means you are earth. That means that's the time of your returning to the earth. So really, your birth date, once again, is your earth date. And your earth date is the day that you return to the earth. So you're not actually birthed without returning. So when they say happy birthday, you can say happy earth day or happy return day, because that's the appointed time you return to serve your sentence, which is your karma. So you cannot be sent on earth if you're not sentenced. Does that make sense, guys? So much wisdom, much love. Thought I'd just drop that information off to you guys, that esoteric knowledge. Please like, comment, subscribe, share the video, family and friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.